What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Fight Within podcast. We got Ben back.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be a good year.
So I'm the guest.
So you're the guest. Yeah, you
I feel
should
like
be
a
sitting
guest.
over here.
Honestly, I feel like a straight up guest now.
No.
I've never even been in this room. Where am I?
I'm so lost. So like we talked about in a couple different episodes with like Frankie's and Phil's episode, Ben has been really busy doing the thing. And so you can touch on that, go into that as much as you want. But yeah, man, Happy New Year. Good to have you back.
Year. I know, I feel like I barely see you anymore.
Yeah, it's because you don't like fat people anymore.
Get out of here. Yeah, well, it obviously is nice to be back in here. I'm finally getting like into the rhythm of my new normal.
Your new life.
Yeah, it's so funny because, we always talk about how there's choices in life. You can do X, Y, and Z. But just to kind of give you guys like a recap for those that like don't know me, we at the end of year, so in September, my wife and I had our third kid, and from September until about Christmas, we just like everybody, but I feel like we went through it, and where not only did we have a new baby, a new business that we opened, but we just got hammered with like sickness after sickness after sickness after sickness.
Yeah.
So our newborn was sick for a span. I think it was like he was sick for like 8 out of the 10 weeks he had been born.
Yeah.
Our daughter was sick constantly. Our middle son, he was sick constantly. Then Devin got sick, and then I got super sick. And as of yesterday was the first day that I felt almost normal again in, I think my wife and I were saying like 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Because I had a sinus infection, then it went away, and then I got the flu, and I was out for the count for 8 straight days, then got back to in the rhythm, and then another sinus infection, and I just finished like the antibiotics yesterday. So it's just been wild, but before you know, it's like 3 months, right?
Yeah.
And in those 3 months, obviously, like I said, my wife and I had our kid. We took over a restaurant that we had talked about, which has been really fun. It's also kicked my butt a little bit, if I'm being honest. There's been like so much that has gone into, taking over somebody else's business.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think like what's unique about it is starting a business from scratch. Like you get to like build things out a certain way. You get to establish things a certain way.
Yeah.
You get to train a certain way. You get to, organize vendor selection. You get to do all of that a certain way when you're first starting, versus when you take over something that's been there for several years, you have a different problem set, but you also have potentially, obviously, if you're buying like a successful business, you have a built-in revenue. So there's like blessings and curses to both sides. Like when you're starting something, you don't necessarily know where your revenue is going to come from.
Sure.
Versus when you buy something that's established, you know where your revenue is coming from, but then not only are you having to deal with essentially like a new business, you're having to deal with a new business that already has a built-in business.
Yeah.
So
when your approach might be different too.
100%. So it's just like, dude, all of November was prep for us to take over it. So,
Yeah.
Paperwork to buy the place, transfer of alcohol licenses. The restaurant was in escrow. Things with escrow would pop up. Obviously, like our partners, your brother,
Yeah.
like they're in Tennessee, so we'd have to like ship documents from here to there. Then they would have to sign it, send it back.
Yeah.
Just like so many different style challenges. And then we took over December 1st, and I was just saying to some of the staff the other day, and I've said it to you,
Yeah.
but like, we in 6 weeks we have accomplished so much, but my initial thought process is, dang, I haven't done enough. Like that's always my initial, right? Like we've done so much, but then in my head, I figured I should have already had X, Y, and Z done.
But is that because you're looking at the end goal? Is it because like what the goals you guys have and the things you want to accomplish, so you feel like you're not satisfied?
I mean, I would say yes and no, but I literally just have to as I'm talking out loud to like staff members or
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
our partners, like it always reminds me like, dude, it's only been a few weeks. Like
Yeah.
pump the
It hasn't
brakes,
been
chill out. But in my head, I'm just like I'm a big doer. So
Yeah.
when I get into like project Ben mode, like work Ben mode, or we have a mission, here's the mission. Like this is my
Yeah.
brain just goes to a different place.
Okay, Marie.
Where like it is though. It's like engraved in me, and obviously I get a lot of that from like my dad. But like,
Yeah.
dude, it's when I'm in work mode, mission mode, uh, don't stop till the job is done mode. Like sometimes I forget like how skewed a timeline can be. Because like I literally just said
Sure.
to the staff last week, guys, it's only been 5 weeks. Like think about all we've done. Because they were saying, oh man, I wish we would have done this, wish we would have done that. And I was like, yeah, me too. But think about it. It's only been 5 weeks. And I was sick for 8 of those. Like 8 days of that, like where
Yeah.
I was physically out of work. I was sick longer. But yeah, needless to say, like it's been a long time.
It's a new venture. I think it's exciting though because a lot of times too, when you're doing something new, it almost it fires you back up or brings up that passion and that creativity to do other things. You know, because things can get dull. Not saying that you don't like your other business ventures, but sometimes it's like
Well, you get stuck in like the daily grind of things.
yeah, yeah,
But this has like kind of sparked like Project Ben mode is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like it has sparked that. So like with one of my businesses that's been around for a long time, like I'm starting to like go back through just like I am with our new venture and be like, oh wait, why have I been doing this, or why have we been spending money on this? Why have we been doing that? It's like it keeps you sharp, right? You're using
Exactly.
you're
Yes.
bringing tools out that you might not have had to use for a long time. But it's been nice to also get back on a schedule. Like this last week last week was my first like week back to a normal schedule.
Yeah.
Where I'm not, working 7 straight days again, where, I'm working 5 or 6, but just the newness of everything is fun, but I'm also a big creature of habit. So, like getting back to
Yeah.
obviously recording a podcast together and
How do you
getting-
deal with that? Just on a, I guess more of a selfish question, being your friend is like, how do you deal with? Because I don't have employees. I have me. I work with someone on like a project, but they don't necessarily work for me. How do you
Yeah.
deal with like not knowing that you can't please or satisfy everyone? Because like even when we have like I've asked people, oh, what do you think about this logo? We're like changing that logo, and you get like
mixed reviews
10
on
no's, 1 yes, and I'm like, what? Like I really like it. You guys don't like it? That's weird.
Well, I think it's actually funny because as we took over a new business, and
Yeah.
there's new partners that have never worked together and stuff like that. Like obviously we've gone through that as different personality types.
Sure.
Just because
Yeah.
I might think one thing is one way, the other partner might might think the other.
Yeah.
But what I've learned in my time of doing business, like because I'm on my 13th year now,
Yeah.
is like I try to look at things as like subjective as possible. Like I view things now as I've like kind of matured in my business walk. Like I look at things as an object, right? Like my business is an object. If I need this object to move across the board, to the left, then back to the right, then back and then forward and then to the left and then forward, like I just need to look objectively on how can I move that object in the most efficient way.
Yes.
So I actually, had this conversation with, like our partners and stuff and trying to explain like I'm not looking at things as it's my way or the highway. I'm looking at it as what's best for the object. The
Yeah.
object in this case happens to be a business. So how do we do what's best for this business? Well, I leave my own feelings aside. Obviously it's easier said than
Sure.
done.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like for me and just the amount of like years I've been doing this and the amount of people I've had to work with or employ or vendors or any of that stuff, like I don't care if it's my quote unquote way or not.
Yeah.
I just want what's going to be best for the, again, mission at hand, right? if there's a mission, how do we accomplish the mission? What's going to be the best route for that? What's the most effective? What's the, the fastest? What's going to make the most money? What's going to save the most money? Like, I look at things that way. So I've learned to not honestly let my feelings get hurt. So like, especially like, let's say a logo. You've asked me so many times, you and I have gotten over the last 2 years, like back and forth on logos and design.
Yeah.
Like I'll give my opinion, right?
Yeah.
But I've never once been like, oh no, like,
No, you've
No, my
literally
feelings
texted me
are-
like, oh, I don't care.
Yeah,
Pick
like-
whatever you want.
exactly.
What?
Like you asked me that recently.
Okay.
You're like, oh, which logo? I was like, I don't care. Like
Yeah.
whatever you think you want to do.
Yeah.
So to answer that question, it's been years of practice. But the biggest, I think, help or offering I could give somebody to answer that specifically would be leave your pride aside.
Yeah.
Leave your pride aside and don't be afraid. Like if somebody doesn't like it, like if they don't like your idea, they don't like your opinion, they don't like your logo, they don't like your business solution, they don't like your selection on whatever, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Like that's fine. That's why we have different personalities. That's why we have different partnerships. That's why we have different ways of thinking. If we all thought the same, we would be living in that freaking Pleasantville movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or like, it's not just
The
because
Truman Show.
exactly just because you like something and I don't doesn't mean like I hate you. Like
Yeah.
it
Or
just
that
means-
it's not right.
Yeah, it
you
just
know?
means my personal preference is not that one.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it is. That's all it needs to be.
That's why like A/B testing is cool, because then you can test out what people want. Especially for like us, a podcast is a little bit different, but like another way we make money or we have the potential to make money is merch.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't matter what we like. We might think a shirt design is awesome, but if no one buys it,
Then it's not cool.
Who cares?
Exactly. I literally said that. I said that, to Billy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, look, dude, like just because I say I don't like it doesn't mean it's gonna not do well. Or vice
Yeah.
versa. Maybe I say I like it and it ends up tanking. But if we can remove our own personal feelings
Mm-hmm.
and, think with our brain versus our heart, we would be able to come to more of a mutual agreement. Obviously, a lot of what I do is led by like my heart, right?
it's also
what,
experience though.
Yeah. But my heart is what makes me who I am, and it makes me the leader that I am.
Yeah.
But my brain that God has given me is also a huge part of why I do things the way I do things, right? Like I
Yeah.
can't lead with my heart. I can let my heart be an influence, but I have to make a decision based off of my brain. Facts, not emotion,
Yeah.
right? So base decisions off of real tangible facts, not the what ifs or the emotional component. In my personal opinion is how I do things. Is obviously there's times where obviously like you get like butthurt or something like that, but it's like if you
Yeah.
didn't, then that would show that you like don't care about things, which
You're almost like
would
stagnant.
make you a
It's
robot.
like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's been a trip. 3 months has flown by, and it is here we are in January, a new year. Everyone's on their fun. Oh, I'm gonna make this year different.
New year, new me.
Yeah, New Year resolutions. Let's go back to the gym. Blah 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 blah.
The gym has been packed.
Dude, it's crazy.
It's nuts.
But yeah, crazy.
That is nuts. Well, no, but I'm excited to have you back and kind of get
Back in a
this
rhythm.
going. Yeah, I think that's important. I think it's good. It's good to like take a break or do other things, but to get in a rhythm, like you said, is so important because it's a lot of times what saves you. It's like when guys in a fight get hurt, a wrestler gets hit and he's dazed, he always goes back to his fundamentals. He will go back to his wrestling. And I think when you get a rhythm, when things aren't going your way or things are hard, like, okay, what am I good at? What can I go back to? And for me, I've experienced that in different ways, especially because it's like, because I don't have people, it's like I have to do all the work, and it's like, okay, what am I good at? I've talked to other guys like in our men's group, and they're like, man, you need to go. It sounds cheesy, but you need to go deep, and you need to what do you say, deep and hard or something like that, where it's like you're doing too much. Like focus on one thing.
You go deeper versus wider.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I get that kind of, but in my industry, you can't. Like, you almost have to be a jack of all trades. Like you and we've talked about that quote before, where it's like, oh, but you're jack of all trades and master of none, but then the full quote is it's better to be a jack of all trades and a master of none or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you guys search it. You guys have Google. Go look it up. But I think it's tough, and I don't even know the point I'm trying to make with that. But is that in my industry and like marketing, if I just do websites, it's like a one-off. It's like, oh yeah, I did a website, cool, next one. And you can't sustain anything for that long. You have to be able to do websites, to be able to do like Google and Yelp management, to do SEO and Instagram. And so it's like, how do you build that? The only thing I can think of, and I'm just thinking out loud, is like, oh, you bring on people and you make them partners and you take less. Like I had a buddy tell me, and I've heard it before, where it's like, oh, would you rather have 100% of nothing or 10% of something?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, yeah, why not bring people on? And it's like, okay, well, what are we not experienced in? Like I one of the guys I was talking to in our group, he has a buddy, and hopefully we'll figure out one day how to have him on, because he's out in Tennessee. But he has a podcast, and his podcast is called like the Optimized Human or something like that. And he's like, he for the longest time, for like 3 years, was making no money because he wasn't consistent or anything like that. And he was just kind of putting things out there, because he's also like an author and a coach and does speaking engagement. So the podcast wasn't really his deal.
Yeah.
He's now making, and he's like a total side thing. He's like, oh, I'm making 10 grand a month.
Sheesh.
Because he signed with like a production company. And this production company is now giving him the facility to film the podcast. They brought in sponsors. Like they're doing all these things for him, where all he has to do is literally show up, film it, and leave.
That's pretty nice.
And oh yeah, no editing, no posting, no marketing, no nothing. They'll give him clips and he'll post it on his personal page, but like someone else is running everything, and it's like, oh, that's an idea to look at, just to see what it would be like what it'll cost, what do you have to give up, like what's the information, and then we can sit down and be like, okay, this would be a good move, or no, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
We're not there yet, and so I think it's never. The point I'm trying to make is that there's never one right way. There's never like, okay, do it this way and this is it. You need to start thinking outside the box, where it's like, okay, for me, I'm going through this, instead of thinking like, okay, I just need to get more clients. It's like, okay, what other, yes, that's one part of it, but what else can you do?
Yeah. For sure.
Like who else can you bring on? How else can you grow it?
Well, it's all just adaptability of everything. But
Yeah.
that quote,
Oh, did you look it up?
the full phrase is, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
Yeah.
It's basically a compliment. And then there's actually there was I think it was Forbes or Entrepreneur.com or something like that wrote an article about this that quote a couple years ago.
Uh-huh.
And it's basically saying, like, to summarize it, they were essentially saying like it's better to be a jack of all trades, especially as like a business, like as an entrepreneur or a business owner.
Yeah.
That way, you have a lot of skill sets. Like in my business, I never want to be the best at anything. Like I genuinely don't. One of the girls at the restaurant yesterday, they were teasing me and saying that, oh, like so-and-so said that so-and-so is better than you at making coffee. And I looked over and I was like, awesome. Like,
Yeah,
that's
good.
so sick. I was like, heck yes.
Yeah.
I was like, I shouldn't be better than that person.
Yeah.
Like, they do it
That's what
5
they
to
do.
7 days a week. I
Yeah.
do it hardly ever. So
Yeah.
it's like, they should be better than me. I should have to ask, like, hey, like, how, like, how are things working the way they're working right now because you chose to make them work that way? Like, my job is to give them that place so they can do that, and give them the tools and the resources that they need to do their job.
When you were probably that at some point in the company, when the company was starting out, you were that person.
For sure.
You were the best one because there was 2 of you.
Yeah.
And it's like you've gone
I was
through
the best
it.
one because there was one of me.
Well, yeah, okay.
I'm just kidding.
And you've gone through it is what I'm saying. Like you've already gone through it. Great. Now you've learned, okay, I got to bring someone on that's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be the best at that.
And again, it goes back to what I said at the very beginning. Pride, though.
Yeah.
A lot of business owners, or I'll just relate it to business owners. A lot of business owners, especially when they're starting out, like they need to be, they think they have to be the best. And
Yeah.
in
I was like that.
my opinion is that's the wrong mentality. You need to be
Yeah.
the best at leading your business if that's your role. Like
Yeah.
if your role in your business is a job, you're holding a job in that business and you are the person doing that job, then yeah, of course you should be the best at that job.
Yeah.
But, I know it's another cheesy saying, but it's so true. And I never understood it because I was like, I don't get it. Like, stop working in your business and start working on your business.
Yeah.
Like I never, like it was so easy for so many people to tell me that over the years, especially when you're starting, where I was like, it's easy for you to say, Mr. I make 500 grand a year. Like, of course
Yeah.
you're saying that, but did you say that to yourself when you first started? Unless you had, like
Maybe.
obviously a huge investment and you didn't need to worry about money.
Or if you had a coach.
Well, yeah, but I mean, a lot of it too is like sometimes you have to grind it out at the beginning and in the middle and throughout.
Well,
Like,
it helps you appreciate it. I was watching a clip yesterday, and they're like, you're gonna do the things, like you're gonna fail a lot more. Like entrepreneurship is failing and doing the things you don't want to do a lot more than succeeding and doing the things that you do want to do.
yeah,
Yeah, and you just got to live with it, because those wins, those little wins, you'll start having these like little victories. Like, "Oh, I made a list of 5 things and I got 4 of them done." Instead of being like, "Oh, you're a piece of crap, you got 4 of them done, 4 out of 5," just be like, "You know what? That's awesome. I had 4 of them done. Now I'm either gonna work a little bit later, stay up a little bit later, or I'm gonna push that till tomorrow." And that's the one thing I've learned. One of the biggest things I've learned, closing out last year was, was like making this list and then making out of that list is make what are the top 3 things that need to get done today? Like what's list A and what's list B? Give me the things that have to get done today and things that I can push back to tomorrow. You might have to call a client or a customer and explain like, "Hey, this is what's going on and this is why this project or this assignment needs to get moved back to the next day." But you don't have a choice when you make these a list. They have to get done.
yeah,
Those are things that you have to accomplish. You don't have a choice. Stay up late, make an extra phone call, do the extra work, whatever it is, that has to get done. And so that's helped me a ton. But I'm still putting priority into other things, and that's where it gets messy for me, where it's like, hey, I because I love this kid or I love this thing, I'm gonna do this. Like I'm coaching a kid right now in boxing, and I'm not charging him too much. And I had another buddy of mine tell me like, "Oh, when you say yes to that, you're saying no to something else." And it's like, yeah, but no one else is gonna give me that.
yeah,
And we talked about it, and you're like, yeah, you're just gonna have to stay up another hour, like whatever, or replace it, like
Yeah.
get up earlier. What? There's ways around it. It depends how much, in my opinion, is how much you want it, and like how much you want that thing to succeed. And then what you're willing to put up for it, like what you're willing to sacrifice. And sometimes it's sleep, other times it's date nights.
yeah.
It just
Well,
depends.
dude, people don't understand sometimes the amount of sacrifice things take when you choose
Yeah.
to, again, relating it just specifically to business, but they don't realize that the amount of work something takes, right? They just think that things magically happen
When they don't value it.
and yeah, it's just crazy. Like it takes a lot to make that decision to get out on your own, to start your own business, to create something from nothing, to employ people, to think of solutions to problems. Like it's a lot, and it's a commitment. And ultimately it's a lifestyle. Like I have to choose to do the things that I do every single day. No one's forcing me to do them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the businesses. Like no one's forcing them. Like I don't have a boss. Like there's no outline for me. I have to make that conscious choice to, hey, you probably shouldn't go do X, Y, and Z if you
Yeah.
haven't done A, B, and C. Like there's all these things that, you know, have to get done, and I have to make that choice.
Yeah.
Like obviously I have people that hold me accountable, which is what you need. You need to
Sure.
surround yourself with people that will do that for you and not just like fluff you up all the time. But it's a commitment. It's a lifestyle. Like it
Yeah.
would be so much easier sometimes in my head to just quit everything I've done over the years, go get a job as like a manager or, you know,
Yeah.
leadership position of some sort, and, you know, work hours, and then when I'm off work, I'm off work. Like
You're
leave me
done.
alone.
You can put it away. Well, even I've heard entrepreneurs talk about that too, and they're like, you know, when you're home, you know, be home. It's not time, and it's like, well, you can't. You sometimes you can't, especially when you're at a certain level. You know, that's we've talked about it with fighting before, where it's like, oh, you don't see the 3 months of commitment, blah blah blah. You just see it under the lights. I think in business for you, because we've talked about it, it's like, yeah,